What's going on, everyone? You are tuned in to another edition of the Reggie Haynes Podcast. And I know that I've been doing a few snippets of certain questions that's been asked by people. And I've been intertwining 21 questions with Reggie Haynes to, my Reggie Haynes in Africa, or Who is Reggie Haynes, Texas, UK, Africa, the documentary or the docuseries. But today I'm just going to come out and tell people my overseas experience and the truth of it. I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't really care. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to be upset with some of the things that come out. There's going to be some people that's going to probably look at me in a different way. The bottom line is I'm just getting this off my chest. So for those people that, want to know, hey, Reggie, when you went overseas to the UK, to Africa, if you could rate your experience, what would you rate it? Now, me being very optimistic, but also being a realist, I would say that it was probably like a 6.5 if you're looking at a 1 to 10 grading scale, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. It was a 6.5. And let me tell people why. Because when I first went to the UK, everybody knows I went over there, thought I found the love of my life, didn't work out. You move on, right? You progress from there. Doesn't mean that you guys are failures. You just progress. But my experience with people in the UK, I'm gonna get straight to the point and say, I felt like a lot of them, especially the city folk, very straightforward, very cutthroat, and they came off as assholes, inhumane, cowardice assholes, But when people started hearing my accent and saw where I was coming from, it was unique. It wasn't your typical American accent, like, hey, can I get a chocomote? Or can I get one of those? Like, yeah, my name's Hannah. Like one of those accents. You got the, Reggie Haynes country boy accent, sounding proper at times accent. It was unique. Like, what are you doing here? And I always used to get asked this question, what made you come to this shithole? Right? Listener's discretion is advised. You will hear some cursing. People used to say, what made you come to this shithole? And I always said, hey, I found the love of my life. I'm enjoying it. The UK is actually nice. See, I was being very optimistic and diplomatic in regards to where I was, because I was always raised, hey, man, when someone invites you into their home, you always treat it with respect until it's time for you to go. And you're obviously leaving because you feel like, okay, you don't need to be there any longer. And being there in the UK, a lot of people know that I was good friends with phenomenal African empowerment leaders. And when I went to these African empowerment meetings and I went around and I saw certain people who were in the African community, a lot of these people who I saw, they were just trying to do photo ops, meaning taking a picture, them being at a event that was pro-African, pro-Black, pro-original people, you name it, and say, hey, I was there today. Hey, I'm pro-Black. I'm a Black Panther, stuff like that, just so they can have this calling card of whenever things are popping in mainstream media for you to basically benefit, that's when they start pulling up the card or the pictures of showing credibility. Like, hey, I'm one of them too. Always trying to be on the winning end and never really being true to who they are. I saw a lot of that within the African community. I seen a lot of that even in America and in Africa. But sticking to the UK, it was a lot of people who were just rude. Very like if something bad happened, don't even try to explain yourself, because they're not gonna let you talk. They just gonna blah 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 blah, talk in their British accent and their British way and just overtalk you and just yell and just show you that this is what the European mindset really was. But on the back end, I met some extraordinary people, some very nice people who would welcome you into their homes. And people who would do any and everything for you just as long as you treated them with the utmost respect. These were the particular people who I knew for a fact, whenever I spoke to them, they hated the people that was around them. They hated British culture. And what people might say or might not say, but I'm going to be honest with you and say it myself, the main reason why people are in the UK is because GBP, right? Great British pounds, right? And that is their currency. Like the US dollar, like in certain places in Africa, you got rands, you got kwacha. That's their dollar. And it's one of the highest worths when it comes in regards to its value. So a GBP from last time I checked, we're in 2026 now. It is a few cents higher than a US dollar. And a lot of people just go over there to work, get money, send it back home, right? Because they know if they work a certain job for a certain amount of time, put up with other people's BS, they're going to, going back home with this, 100 here, 1,000 there, they're going to be millionaires back home. And they can, live a lavish lifestyle for some time. And never have to worry about going back to the UK. And people in the UK know it. The UK is, especially in the London area, all the houses are compacted. It's gritty. It's, people are just nasty at times. The transportation is a mess. There was times where, I almost beat some people's asses because they were, doing dumb shit on the trains, You got a whole bunch of people always trying to thug it out and all types of stuff. And that leads me to my next point, whether I was in the UK or Africa. The second that I start talking, everybody thinks, I'm a thug, I'm a gangster, I'm 50 Cent. I'm one of these, guys who want to see gang banging and, hood-like behavior. And that's not me. Even when I'm in America, you get stuff like that. So in the UK, I would say, just like Africa, just like the times where I went to Canada, 6.5, man. 6.5, because I know that there was a lot of grimy stuff. There was a lot of toxic people, but towards the end of my trips, towards the beginning and the end, I started realizing, what? I want to focus on the good people. When I first came there, I was looking for the good people, found the nasty ones. Then I ended up finding the good. And unfortunately, I had to go through the bad. So those are the things that I dealt with while being in the UK. And I know for a fact that the UK consumed my mind too. It made me lazy at times. It made me toxic. I'm looking at a lot of my old pictures. I was gaining a whole shit ton of weight after losing an X amount of weight. I wasn't happy. I was miserable. And I realized that, the best thing for me to do is to move on and find my happy place. And I know the UK wasn't there. As quiet as it's kept, I know I've said this before, but I was offered jobs to stay in the UK. And I said, nah, man, it's not for me. But I'm glad that I met a lot of good people who were there, who I still keep in contact with to this day, because they always kept it real with me. And they always, made sure like, hey, Reggie, if you need anything, I'm always there. And I said the same. But you got a lot of people out there, man, who are fucked up, and that's their problem, not mine. I know for a fact that I could not live another day, feeding into their ways. And I know that, hey, there were times where I threw the first punch, metaphorically speaking, and I deserved every bit of karma that came my way. But it wasn't all the time, though. So for the times where it wasn't Reggie throwing the first punch, I know for a fact that it was just a situation shown to me that I don't need to involve in my life. And I'm glad that I don't have to ever, go back down that road again, dealing with those types of people in the UK. Moving on to Africa. When I was in Africa, man, so many different things happened. I went out there with the same mentality that I did with the UK. Oh, everything's so nice and lovely. People looked at me and they were like, yep, we about to take advantage of this nigger. And so many people tried to, economically speaking, going out there, doing, work and doing things. People were acting like they couldn't pay you, like you weren't, like the work that you were doing wasn't, enough, like you didn't fulfill your end of the bargain, all types of shit. Same stuff that I was dealing with in the UK and a lot of places in America. And then it got to a point to where I was like, I've been here for a while. You got a whole bunch of people that want to fight you, that want to beef with you, that want to do all this stupid shit with you. Piranhas. They see something by its lonesome and everybody wants to attack. And the second that you start fighting back, those piranhas start trying to attack more. But let there be two of you, or let you grow more powerful, making it seem like you're way bigger than this whole fleet of piranhas. What happens? Those piranhas flee away. And that's what I got in Africa. That's what I got in the UK. Now, people are going to hear this shit and they're going to lie and say, no, man, no, Reggie. But that's what people have to do in order to keep toxicity running. You have to lie. You have to omit the truth. You have to make sure that everything that you say is relevant. It holds value. Everything that Reggie says or that is honest and truthful is overlooked. That's why toxicity, that's why inhumanity continues to exist. Now, if a person asks, Reggie, hold up, man, you know, in this particular story, did you do this? Did you throw the first punch, more metaphorically speaking? Yep. And I was wrong 100%. Can't say a lot of other people do that shit, though. That's why we live in a world full of inhumane, cowardice beings who never take accountability. All right. So going on with the whole Africa experience, as soon as I got there, people were asking for money. A lot of people who work in the fields of, you know, police and all these different things, or some form of security, they're always asking you for a drink, asking for extra money so you can get away with a ticket and all that stuff. People who run Airbnbs out there will try to scam you. It was bad, man. There were people, because of where I came from and how I talk or how I spoke, people always was like, hey, Reggie will hook you up with a job and do all this. So Reggie was like the person that everybody came to for money all the fucking time. I worked at a few schools, and certain people who was in accounts and did accounting used to go around and tell people like, hey, just want to let you know, man, Reggie's doing volunteer work. But if he does make money, this is how much he's worth. And you should ask him because I know he has money. So you couldn't trust anybody. This is when, you know, because a lot of people say, Reggie, you know, are you famous? You know, this, and I always deny it. But Wikipedia and all these online profiles say different. And the way that I get treated sometimes says different, right? So with me, I knew that word got around about me when I went to a certain place in Africa. There was a person that I was doing a film with who I clearly do not like. He was an elder. We'll never work with him again. I don't even want nothing to do with the man. He was one of those fucked up individuals who I'm always talking about. But he told me something that still resonates with me to this day. He said, Reggie, you know, you're very popular around these parts. You need to hire you about 1 or 2 security guards at all times. And I'm laughing it off or whatever. And a few weeks later, you know, I'm wherever I am. And I had a woman who I did interact with previously, but I made it clear that we were done. There's an old saying, with certain women, no does not mean no, right? So this woman came to my house, tried to break in through my window just to talk to me. You know, I recorded the whole thing. I was like, hey, look, you know, and then I went back to her house when she was with her child, because she had a child, and I approached her. Because one thing about me, you know, and in the video, I asked her, could I come in, you know, all this, and I confronted her about the issue, and she apologized. There were other issues to where I was walking, you know, there will be times I walk around the local neighborhoods or rural areas or villages, and I'll just grab me something to eat. And after school one day, a whole bunch of children, you know, were just trying to touch me and not trying to fight me or nothing, not trying to rob me, just trying to touch me and, hey, asking me for money. Everywhere I go, people are always asking for fucking money. That's a given. You know, I could dress poor and people still gonna ask me for money. Like, I purposely try to dress poor. People always want money from me. I still don't get that. So I'm walking through and I'm telling all these children, because it was a gang of them, I'm like, hey man, can y'all please leave me alone? Then it got to the point to where I can't even like maneuver around this pack of children to get to where I need to go, which is my location where I was living at the time. I'm like, can I go home? And then I start yelling like, hey man, y'all need to get out my, you know, fucking way. Then a few elders saw it and they confronted the youths, and they were like, what y'all doing is wrong. When I went to the UK, I learned the lingo. I learned the slang. When I went to Africa and I went to these different countries, I had to teach myself the local language. You know, even when people be like, what am I saying, Reggie? What am I saying? Oh, I know exactly what the fuck you're saying, but I'm not going to let you know that I know what you're saying, because I want to continue to play stupid to see the shit that y'all be trying to plot when y'all don't think I know, you know, what's going on. So the locals were actually having my back at that time, and the elders spoke to the youths and they were like, hey, you know, leave him alone, let him be. And, you know, I remember there were mornings where I wake up and I'm just stepping outside just to get some fresh air, and I can't even chill alone because you got, you know, people peeking in, because in Africa, there's a lot of gated communities where you got the gate and then you got security. Now, mind you, there were a lot of security people who I knew, and I found out that they used to actually have people come up to them and say, hey, if I pay you this amount of money, can I just go inside and see Reggie right quick? I know the gates are closed. I know you're supposed to lock them, but can you just, and people would always accept money. Like, yeah, that's not a problem. So that used to happen. So when the gate was open during the day and security wasn't really, around, people used to peek in. Oh, that's him. That's the nigga. That's the nigga. You know what I'm saying? Women used to come up to me. Hey, Reggie, how you doing? Can I have some money? I'm like, nah, baby, I'm good. Oh, you's a broke nigga. This is the stuff that people used to say to me, all the time. And I'm just like, bro, like, it's crazy because at the end of the day, people watch whatever TV is they have access to, whatever programming they have access to, and they automatically assume, oh man, this dude sounds just like this particular individual, and I'm gonna treat them accordingly. And that's one of the things that I hated. But talking about the positives, just like I did in the UK, in Africa, when you had people who, my thing is, I don't give a damn about being famous. I leave that up to, whoever follows my career, works with me, whatever. That's them. My main thing is whatever I do, I give it 100%, which is something that was taught to me by my mom, my elders who helped raise me. And that's what I've done in football, 100%. Yeah, I hated it with a passion. But my thing is to where I made the best out of it. Same thing with filming, same thing with music. Give it 100%. Yesterday we just had a shoot. I was sick as a dog, but I still gave it 100% and got through the scenes. So that way I know that we're going to produce some phenomenal content, right? And whenever I'm doing all these different things, the interviews and all that stuff, if Reggie can gain some type of star power in this inhumane system, I know for a fact that all the revenue that I'm gaining is going to go back to the community, 100%. I can't tell you how many times in Africa I was broke because I was constantly giving. And then it got to a point to where people were saying, man, stop giving and you barely have anything to hold on to. These people are looking at you as a billionaire, not a millionaire, but a billionaire. So anytime you give, they're thinking that, oh, you're going to continue to give and you're going to run yourself dry. I had females out there who they were well known. But because Reggie was in the mix, let me throw my pussy at Reggie. Let me throw sex at Reggie to throw him off his game. Because we all know that can be a distracting method as well. So I had to focus up and realize, like, look, any type of distractions, I cannot allow that to affect me whatsoever. And that's when I had to step away and say, you know what? At the end of the day, I know that Reggie has to do his best for him. Step away from all of this. These females, step away from all of these people that's trying to bring you down and focus on the ones who's good. So the good people were the youths who are always uplifting me. Certain people who are always uplifting me. Certain people, the best times I had in Africa was when people didn't know who I was. And they just treated me, like just a relative, a relative from a faraway place. And just welcome me into their homes. There were times I walked through the villages. Everybody knew who I was and knew where I was, where I came from. Hey, Reggie, you coming to eat dinner with me tonight? I can't tell you how many times I was offered dinner. You coming out to eat dinner with me tonight? No, not tonight, but maybe next time. Okay, just, hey, offer's still on the table. You had, like I said earlier, you had the women who their parents, hey, cook your future husband some dinner right now. Get on your knees and wash his hands and feed him. Just all types of shit. And I was like, nah, man, I can't deal with this. But I know that I have to deal with that. A crazy story that made me say, okay, things are getting crazy over here in Africa was when I was dating this queen. And I already made the announcement that I was going to be leaving a school that I was volunteering at. I didn't know that certain people from the school, some of their relatives knew my woman, right? So my woman was at work and these people approached her at her job. Some of them didn't even work there. And they were like, hey, are you, is it true that you're dating Reggie Haynes? And she said, yeah, but, like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Like, and they were like, no, we just heard that he's leaving. And we just, wanted to ask if you can talk to him about staying. because he's made such a big impact. He started a league, did great with sports, and he's doing these movies and the music. And, my woman was like, kind of, throw it off. She was like, dang, I didn't know my man was, that popular. So she ended up, coming to me and telling me the whole thing. I went to HR and I told them, I was like, hey man, this happened. And there was really nothing that HR can do about it. But it was one of those things where I was just letting certain people know that, hey, look, I know that I'm valuable. I know that I am a top priority, but I never come across that way. And that's just because I know that it's a we and not me mentality. But I'll be damned if people try to undervalue me. I'll be damned if people try to get over on me, knowing that they know my worth when it comes in regards to the business sense. So yeah, there were days when I was in Africa and I was signing autographs. Yeah, there were days to where I walked down the street and, people would say, hey, I recognize you, from YouTube, the well-known number one YouTuber. I call him number one YouTuber in Africa. 5 minutes after me first sending a voice note to him, he responded to me. And ever since then, we've been, very close. People said that they saw me in his interview. People said they saw me on TV. People quoting, songs that I've done and, asking me about my TV show. When I was at the schools, I'll be in my office, door would be wide open. You have some students, hey, can I have your autograph? Hey, Mr. Reggie, hey, can I talk to you about certain things? And I was honored, and those are the things that I really miss about Africa. Even, wherever I am, you have people who appreciate you and they're not looking to have any type of gain or anything like that. They just appreciate you for all the things that you've done and the things that you're still doing, but you're not doing it for me. You're doing it for we. And that's why I say my time overseas was 6.5, because when I went in, I had this, oh my goodness, I'm so fascinated with overseas because I've been in America for 20 plus years and I know it's so beautiful over here. And it was like I was running away from a lifestyle in America to go to overseas, just already saying it's going to be better. And it was clearly the same, because my mom taught me this a long time ago. She said, Reggie, only thing that's different between the people that live in America to all people around the world is the accent. Don't even talk about the culture, because different cultures come from different places around the world, but they all might be unique in certain ways, but they're all the same in certain ways as well. So it's the accent. So when I was, when I was traveling around and doing all these different things, I felt like I was running away from America and then thinking that things were going to be different, and they weren't. Then when I went through the trials and the tribulations, the nights of me, just stressed out and going crazy, people doing me wrong, me eventually not putting up with the shit, that's when things got better. And that's when things started progressing for me. Just like when I left the UK, got job offers, same thing happened in Africa. Reggie, you're not leaving, are you? Yeah, man, I got to go. I got another job to do. No, we need you. And I'm like, nah, man, I'll see what I can do. So yeah, I'll be going back to Africa. Yeah, I'll be doing things over there. But at the same time, I just know that there's certain places I cannot go. And there's certain people I cannot involve in my life. And there's certain things that I've seen already to where I know better not to run into ever again. People will always say, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm your relative, I'm your friend, I'm your buddy. But take note of this. My best friends or my best friend never brought problems into my life as much as people overseas did. My best friends never asked me for money. My best friends never tried to misuse and abuse me. My best friends never done the snake shit that people over there did. My mother, my father never did the snake shit that people over there did. So before you start saying I'm your brother and all these different things, I'm your relative, take note of that. We are not related, because if we were, you would treat me better than what you did in the past. But for all those good people who I will claim as family who are over there in Africa, I'll always love them. I'll always respect them. And I'll always be grateful for the fact of where they reminded me of why I came there in the first place. And that was to seek the good. And I'm glad that I was right all along. It was just unfortunate that I had to go through the bad. Again, this is Reggie Haynes. Talked about my overseas experience. Might dabble a little bit into it later down the road. But all in all, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of the Reggie Haynes Podcast on the RHTV Podcast Network. I'm your man, Reggie Haynes, and I'm signing off. Peace and love.